You clicked on this video because you are worried that artificial intelligence has already outsmarted you in the stock market. You fear that algorithms are making better decisions than you ever could, leaving your savings behind. But the real problem is not that AI is too smart, but that it is fundamentally blind to the one thing that actually moves markets: human emotion. By the end of this video, you will understand why the most sophisticated machine learning models are failing to protect your wealth and where the true edge lies for every investor. Most people assume that the race for wealth management is a battle of computational power. They believe that if an algorithm can process more data faster, it will inevitably outperform a human advisor. This assumption is dangerous because it ignores a critical shift happening in the field of machine learning. Recent research indicates that while deep learning excels in automated model building and thrives in electronic markets, its efficacy in wealth management is increasingly bottlenecked by human-machine interaction rather than algorithmic capability. We are entering a new era where the primary failure point is not the math, but the missing link between cold data and warm human behavior. To understand this, we must look at how these systems are built. A critical study on autonomous data engineering reveals a paradigm shift where performance gains now stem from data quality rather than model architecture. The industry has developed frameworks like Data Master, which improved benchmark scores by 32%. This sounds impressive, but it operates on fixed algorithms and assumes perfect data availability. It treats the market as a static equation where every variable is known and quantifiable. This works beautifully for processing stock prices and trading volumes, but it collapses the moment it encounters the messy reality of investor psychology. The gap becomes obvious when we consider the nature of the data itself. Machine learning models optimized for historical pattern recognition and financial data inherently fail during regime changes where human behavioral drivers shift. These systems are trained on the past, looking for statistical noise and genuine behavioral shifts in investor sentiment. They cannot distinguish between a temporary dip and a fundamental panic. When fear takes over, the market behaves in nonlinear ways that no historical pattern can predict. The algorithm sees a deviation from the norm and tries to force it back into a statistical average, while the human investor is driven by an irrational fear that demands a different response entirely. Quick resource note: I keep a curated set of Amazon search links in the description for books, gear, and tools relevant to this channel's topics. Some are affiliate links, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you. Please consider supporting the channel by using those links if you find something useful. This leads to a hard trade-off in practical deployment. The black box nature of high-performance models prevents the explainable, empathetic dialogue required for behavioral coaching. You can build a system that is superior at portfolio rebalancing, calculating the optimal percentage of assets to sell or buy based on market conditions. But that same system is useless at preventing panic selling. It cannot tell you why you are feeling this way, nor can it offer the reassurance needed to hold your position when the charts look terrifying. The reliance on standardized training recipes and feature attribution tools creates a false sense of robustness, masking the fact that these systems lack the semantic understanding to interpret the qualitative why behind investor decisions. Consider the servitization of artificial intelligence. Systems struggle to navigate the nuanced psychological factors that dictate market decisions because they are designed to serve a function, not to provide guidance. Educational initiatives like Microsoft's Machine Learning for Beginners have successfully democratized classic machine learning concepts, teaching thousands of people how to build models and understand algorithms. Yet, these courses focus on technical fundamentals and exclude the behavioral coaching required for financial success. You can learn how to build a trading bot, but you cannot learn how to stop yourself from selling everything when the news turns bad. This inability to replicate empathetic, adaptive coaching is the primary failure point in wealth management. AI provides false confidence and stability while humans require coaching on uncertainty. When volatility strikes, the algorithm might suggest a rebalance based on a 32% improvement in benchmark scores, but it cannot address the nonlinear, emotional drivers of investor behavior. The system does not know that you are worried about your retirement or that you are afraid of losing your home. It only knows that the data points have moved outside a standard deviation. Without the human element to bridge that gap, the technology becomes a liability rather than an asset. The evidence suggests that AI's primary failure point in wealth management is not computational power, but its inability to replicate the empathetic, adaptive coaching that prevents investors from making irrational decisions during volatility. While autonomous data engineering frameworks can optimize feature pipelines for quantitative signals, they currently lack the semantic understanding to interpret the qualitative why behind investor decisions, which remains the sole domain of effective human coaching. This means that the most valuable skill for an investor today is not learning to code or to understand neural networks, but developing the emotional resilience to navigate market swings without relying on a machine that cannot feel your fear. We must qualify our claims about artificial intelligence's total inadequacy in this sector. There is a lack of specific longitudinal data on AI's failure rates in live trading versus simulated environments, suggesting a need to qualify claims about AI's total inadequacy in this sector without empirical proof of its inability to eventually integrate behavioral heuristics. However, the current reality is clear. The systems we have today are optimized for efficiency and pattern recognition, not for wisdom and emotional support. They are tools for calculation, not for coaching. The shift from focusing on what artificial intelligence can do to where it fails most investors is the key to regaining control. Instead of chasing the latest algorithm or the most complex model, you should focus on building your own behavioral guardrails. Understand that the market will always be driven by human emotion, and no amount of data processing can fully replicate the nuance of that experience. Your greatest advantage is not speed or data volume, but the ability to pause, reflect, and make decisions based on a holistic understanding of your life and goals, something no algorithm can ever truly grasp. The future of wealth management will likely involve a hybrid approach where technology handles the heavy lifting of data analysis, but human judgment remains the final arbiter of every major decision. Until the technology can solve the problem of emotional intelligence, the most effective strategy is to recognize the limitations of the machine and lean into the strengths of the human mind. This is not a rejection of technology, but a realistic assessment of its current boundaries. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I am a one-person team working hard to make each video better than the last. Subscribe if you found value. It is the best way to show support. Drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. See you in the next video.